All right, and we're back. Okay, so right now we're talking about you met Tasha, she's pregnant, and you're telling your mom.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
The meeting with mom, as I recall, was difficult. Uh, Primarily because mom suffered with paranoid schizophrenia, and
How long did she suffer with that you know
my entire memory, I never remember the time when she didn't have it.
of?
I've
Okay,
been told what she was like before it, but I never really remember her without it.
okay,
Mm. So mom was a little panicked about it, and there was the concern about Tasha's nutrition level and getting her to a doctor so she could get prenatal care and all of that kind of thing. So we were like, okay, well, we're going to have to talk to the the Smiths and whatnot. And I think Tasha was scared. I know I was scared. We talked to Miss Smith, and
how did that go?
it didn't go super bad. It didn't go super bad. She took it rather well, I thought, given the circumstances. There was nobody. One thing I was proud of is neither one of our parents was like, "Oh, you're out. You get kicked out," or nothing like that. They worked with us, and we worked around it. Uh, I worked at Wendy's, so whatever I made from that went to help with like expenses and stuff like that.
Was she working at the time?
No, she was just school. Yeah,
Okay, she was what, 16 at the time?
she was 16. I was 17.
Okay,
Yeah, and Dad was concerned because he was like, "Well, you're gonna be 18 next year."
right.
And she's going to be 17, and if her mom wants to, she could charge you or something. And Miss Smith never did anything like that, so he was just spinning his wheels.
Okay,
Mhm.
so all right, so how was the pregnancy?
The pregnancy was scary at first, certainly. Neither one of us knew what to expect. We were just trying to make it through the best we could. I
Was her moods changing a lot?
Actually, the first pregnancy, even though it had rough moments, was easier than the second one. The second one was when we had the mood
Okay, okay,
swing.
we'll get to that.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Mm,
yeah, going through the process,
mm.
she full term.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so were you there for the first birth? Okay,
Yeah, I was there. I got lucky. A lot of military people don't get
wait,
to.
because you joined the military. At what point did you join the military?
I joined the military in between having Anthony and William.
So
So
was she? So you didn't get to join the military till after Anthony was born, right?
right.
Okay, so let's continue. So you were there for the pregnancy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean the birth.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. At what point did y'all decide to get married?
I think that was always what I was had in my head to do.
Okay.
I don't think I ever thought I wasn't going to do it. I remember I got her a ring,
Mm-hmm.
and I actually proposed to her on the Riverwalk because there's this. When you're on the second floor of the Riverwalk, they have like this little balcony
Balcony
behind
area.
the.
I know what you're
There's a
talking about.
balcony area behind there, and I actually proposed to her in the balcony area
Did she
there.
know you were going to propose?
I think she suspected. I don't know that she knew, but I think she suspected that I
Was she
was.
pregnant at that time? Or
I
was
think
Anthony
she had
already?
had Anthony
Anthony
already
was
at
here.
that time. I think
Okay.
she had had Anthony at that time.
So when you proposed, Were you? It was just you two. Y'all
It
two.
was just us. It was just
Okay.
us, and I proposed, and she said yes.
Okay.
But she already had her own ring as well. That's how I figured that she knew I was gonna do it. She had in her mind that I was gonna do it. So I didn't know she had her own. She had got a ring for me. I didn't know she had, but she did.
So
That
wait,
was
when
the
you
shocker.
gave her a ring, she gave you a ring.
Yes, it was a shocker. I had no clue. I had no idea. She had thought that she knew what I was going to do before I knew what I was
Okay.
going to do.
So so you gave her a ring,
Mm.
and now y'all engaged. How long were y'all engaged before y'all got married?
Not super long. I deployed 99. I went to the Navy summer 99.
Was this something both of you talked about? You going to the Navy?
Yeah.
Did she go to the Army at the same time?
She wanted to do Marine Corps, but she wanted to go to college. So the plan was I was gonna go enlist and go Navy.
Okay.
She was gonna go officer and go Marine Corps.
Okay.
Mm. She was planning to be a Marine option back then, and I went into the Navy. I got in summer '99. The Navy was different back then. It was not the Navy that it is today. That I would say that.
Okay. So
The world was not the same.
right, because
Mm.
you went in, like you said, summer of '99, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So at this point, you're leaving her and your newborn
Yeah. That
at
was.
home. How old was he at that time?
I don't even think he was a year old. Maybe he was a year. Maybe he was approaching 2. Maybe he was approaching 2. Maybe he was starting going toward 2.
What made you go with your name as his name?
I don't ever think it was the thought of anything other than the main thing for her was that the name had to be Catholic.
Okay.
So Anthony Lawrence, or
Did she?
considered Catholic.
Yeah.
name.
Did she have a dispute about the middle name?
No,
Okay.
it never came up. Not with me, it did. It didn't come up. The Miss Smith was like, what, for the time being, since he was going to be living with them mostly, that we keep the last name Smith. So Dad was a little reticent about that, and had I been more forward leaning, I would have probably pushed back on that more than I did in hindsight. But hindsight is 2020.
Right.
Mm.
Okay. So now you enlisted in the Navy.
Mm.
When did you get deployed?
I went when I got from boot camp. I went from boot camp to Israel. I flew from the United States. I landed in Italy. The ship wasn't in Italy, so I bounced around Italy, between Italy and Sicily, trying to find the ship. Then they said, okay, it's going to be in Israel. Then they flew me to Israel. That was an experience. Tech nines at the airport, people going through your drawers. They literally went through my drawers. And then I was off to the ship. I met it in Haifa, Israel. I never forget it. And everything was different back then. There was more chill. There was not like some looming threat.
Right.
It was a different world back then.
So when was William born?
William came in 2006.
Okay, so we got
2005. No, 2005. 2005.
Okay, so we got a ways to go.
Mm.
Okay, so you're in the military.
Mm.
She's still at home.
Yeah.
When did she join the Army?
She never joined.
I thought she was in the Army.
No, she wanted to be a Marine Corps.
So did she
officer.
join the Marines?
No.
Did she join the military?
No.
I always thought she joined the military.
Everybody did, but she didn't. What happened was they lied to her, and they told her that they were gonna let her be a Marine Corps option, and then she found out in the middle of the movie that they had decided to make her a Navy officer instead, and she didn't want to go. She didn't want to do that, and so she opted out of the program.
Well, why didn't she want to go to the Navy?
She didn't want to be a Navy officer.
Okay. All right. So she's home. Is she working at this time or no?
She's in college.
She's in college.
She's in college, full-time college. She did the full run college, and I was Navy. So
you're pretty much
the first 4 years of the relationship, I was over there, she was over here. We would meet like when I was off on leave and stuff like that.
Okay, so you're supporting the home.
Mm-hmm.
You're supporting the family.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then 9/11 happens.
9/11 happened.
2001.
2001. I was actually on leave when 9/11 hit.
Okay, you were on leave.
Yeah, I was on leave because we were already scheduled to deploy to do our standard deployment. We were the ones going out anyway to relieve who was already out there.
Okay.
When it happened, I was packing to go get in my cab. Tasha was in the house. Mom was in the house. Dad was, I don't know, he was somewhere else.
So you're about 20, 21.
Yeah, thereabouts. And,
just a young pup.
Young guy. We were looking at the news, and I think Mom said something like, "Oh, somebody must have got drunk and went into a building." And we're like, sad.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, and we were like, "Oh, it's sad." You know, we're like, and we didn't think anything of it. We kissed, and then I got in the cab, and I was going off. The cab driver gets about halfway down the block. He said, "We might as well stop, man." I said, "What?" He said, "What?" He said, "Second plane hit the building. No planes are taking off now." He knew that.
Mm-hmm.
He found that out in between the walk between me and her walking from the apartment, which was Garden Oaks back then, to the cab. He found that out.
Okay.
And it was like, okay, I called the ship. The ship was in chaos. They were like, we don't know what's going on. We don't know. They're like, can you take the plane? And I was like, all the planes in the United States are grounded. There's no air traffic. They said, well, check with the bus station, check with the train station. I called the bus, I called the train. Both of them said they were shut down. They're not moving. No personal transport is moving.
Okay.
State to state.
So no movement.
No movement.
All right.
So they said, okay, we're going to extend your leave until this sorts itself out. So I think I ended up getting almost an extra week.
Okay. Well, during this week, what were you thinking?
I wasn't really thinking anything other than it was a great extra week. Tasha was loving an extra week. I didn't really think the gravity of what was going on hit me until we got back to the boat. When I got back to the boat, that's when the gravity of what was going on hit me. Because I wasn't even watching the politics of it day to day. I watch the news now, and I'm focused on what's this one saying, what's that one saying. I wasn't paying attention to any of that.
Okay.
Yeah, when I looked at stuff, it was like looking at a moment in history I just didn't pay attention to, and I was living through it. At the time, when I got back to the boat, that's when it hit me that, okay, this thing just got real. Because when I got back to the boat, they were insane. There was machine guns, at the pier when there never was machine guns at the pier. There was guys in boats circling around the ship on watch with guns. It was a different world.
Mm.
It was a different world overnight. It was a different world.
So at that point, you knew it was serious.
It was serious. And then we deployed. We got the Marine. We picked up the Marines, and we started to deploy out. I'll never forget Bradley. He was up there going, "Oh my God, I can't. I ain't want to do no war. I ain't waiting for no war, man." He's freaking out. He's freaking out. I was like, Brad, you need to tell me you never thought that you might go to war? Fuck no, man. I just came here for college. I was like, well, it was like you. I said, yeah. I said, this is the reason why I picked the Navy. If I was going to be in a war, this is where I wanted to be fighting the war at. That's why I picked it.
Yeah. So at what point did y'all find? So at one point, y'all get y'all orders, and now y'all know for sure that y'all going to war.
Okay. I'll give you the Saving Private Ryan moment. Okay. So we're going. We know we're going to invade Afghanistan. The CEO gets up with the Marine Corps commanding officer, and he says, "Well, it looks like we're going to war, folks. We're going to do this." And he said, "This is Major so and so." He comes on. He says, "Well, guys, we don't have a plan on this one, so we're just going to wing it. That is all." That is how the Afghanistan war started. So when people tell me, well, I don't know how we got to this cluster that we see in 2022, I'm like, what are you talking about? It always was that. That's what it always was. That's what it was 20 years ago when I went. That's what it was. There was no plan. We just wing it. That was all. That was the plan from 20 years ago till now.
So when the war started, how long were you gone before you were able to come home?
Man, we actually set a record on deployment time because we ended up almost sitting out there almost a year maybe, because
y'all were gone for a year.
Almost. Usually a Navy deployment is only about 6 months.
Okay.
We ended up extending while we were out there because the Marines were out there and they were on the ground fighting Taliban, whatever, they're doing what they do. And it was just crazy from start to finish, because when we first got there, they were like, well, Afghanistan's landlocked. So the Marines typically, I was on an LSD, and what an LSD does is it has the Marines equipment, their tanks and their amphib equipment in the back, and then that we sink it to a degree.
Right. I actually saw these.
Yeah. And then it shoots out. Well, spoiler alert, you guys cannot drive your tanks through our country. That's what we were told.
By what country?
I don't know what country told us that, but one of the countries told us that you're not driving M1A1s, you're not driving Humvees, nothing. You can't drive anything through our country.
Okay.
And so the Marines had to take everything they could strap to their backs, and they had to walk across another country into Afghanistan. They had to walk.
With no equipment. Well, they probably were airdropping equipment.
No. Whatever they could strap to their backs, that's what they got. Then when they got in there, they had to take an airfield. Once they took that airfield, they had to hold it while the Army got paratrooped in.
Okay.
Then that was the cluster, because when the Army got paradropped in, they didn't paradrop in like their best guys. Like it was the 81st Airborne. It was some specialist dudes who were just there, who were like tech guys. So they were hiding behind the Marines, going, "Oh shit, they're shooting." Tragically, one of the Marines I used to play cards with, he stepped on a landmine, lost his foot. So that happened. It was a different world. It was
so Afghanistan, y'all weren't too much involved, then y'all couldn't be involved that much.
We weren't doing like anything more than we were with the ARG. The ARG is the Amphibious Ready Group. What we do is we bring the Marines where they have to go, get them there. They do their thing. While they're doing their thing, we go back out to sea and wait for them to finish, and then we pick them up, take them back across the pond. That's it. Now the battle group, that's a different story. They fly and they're doing sorties, they're doing this, they're doing reconnaissance, all that. We didn't do that.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So you're out there for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, then you go back.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think being being deployed put a strain on your relationship, your marriage?
I'm sure it did. I don't think I was the same person that she, probably fell in love with in high school. But yeah. I don't think she was the same individual after going through college and all the things that she was going through, birth, all that. I don't think she was the same individual. So it was a strain. Oh yeah, it was a strain. When we got back,
you got back in 02 or 03?
We came back in 02. Then we were prepping to do another deployment in 03. But around that time, my time was coming up.
Your 4 year.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we discussed it and we said, okay, well, let's do the shore duty. And while I was on shore duty.
What's shore duty? Explain that.
Okay. When you're in the Navy, you have sea duty and you have shore duty.
Okay.
And usually you go 4 years at sea, and then you go 3 years shore, and you go back to sea to a ship command. And shore command is just you're on the ground. You're going to a 9 to 5 every day. A ship is different. The routine is different.
So you're doing shore duty for 3 years?
3 years.
During that time, that's when she got pregnant.
She got pregnant with William.
Well, y'all got pregnant with William.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So now William comes. How was this pregnancy?
Oh, well, we'd have to get into a whole host of issues. There was a whole host of things. Tasha was concerned about Anthony because he was spending an awful lot of time with his grandmother. And she was kind of feeling like grandma was taking over her job.
About 7 by now?
6, 7, yeah.
6, 7?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. And she was kind of feeling like, grandma was kind of muscling in on her turf, which she was. Let's be fair. Which she was. I said, okay, he can come here. When I tried to be a single dad to Anthony in the Navy at the same time, it was a disaster. It was a disaster. I had not the skills to jump into that and do that. So an idea was hatched. Mom was trying to repair her credit and whatnot. So I came up with the idea that, hey, Mom, you could come and live on the base with me and Anthony. You could.
What was Tasha at the time?
She was still in college.
Oh, so she was staying on the dorm or whatever?
Yeah.
Okay.
I said, okay, you could come and you could, because I had a house. I had a house. It was, I didn't have to pay any rent or anything. It was a house.
Okay.
I said, look, you come and you stay on the base. You don't have to pay anything. You don't have to pay for your food. You don't have to pay for anything. Only thing you have to buy is your medication that you need for the month. The rest of that money, spend on your bills. And that's what she did. She took a solid year, and when she had paid off every single debt she had.
Mm-hmm.
What I didn't take into account is that I was really substituting one problem for another, because on one end, Tasha didn't want her mom muscling in on her territory, and she definitely didn't want my mom muscling in on her territory.
Mm-hmm.
And now it felt like, okay, this is the same thing, just the opposite side of the coin from her perspective. And we had some arguments about it. We had some real bad arguments about it. And she called the command.
She called the command?
Yeah, she called the command. She called my commanding officer, and he forced me to have to put mom through a process whereby she could be allowed to stay, or she would have to go.
Mm.
And so basically I ended up having to kick her out, technically. And there was a lot of bad feelings on both sides about that, the way that went. I think in hindsight, it would have been better if I'd have just toughed it out and struggled through it on my own and not calling in mom.
Okay.
But hindsight's 2020.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you and Anthony were staying together.
Mm-hmm.
She's pregnant with William?
Not yet. So mom goes home.
Okay.
And to this day, I really feel like I failed mom. I felt like I failed Tasha, and I failed mom.
Why?
Well, one, I didn't take into consideration that this is just flipping the other side of the coin.
Okay.
The other thing is that in bringing mom out of there, I'm setting her back up to live with dad again. After we had done all that work and got her credit together, got her bills straight, got her in a position to where, she was in a winning position. Inside of 6 months, he had ran her credit through the roof. He had destroyed it.
What was he doing? No, well, I don't know. Yeah. That's up to you if you want to go into
that. She said he got a bunch of stuff on credit and just never paid it, and next thing you know, her credit was back down the crap.
Okay, so Tasha, when did Tasha get out of school? Or
she gets out of school not long after mom left, so she came.
Okay,
she came after that. So me and Anthony only had to tough it out for a couple of months more by ourselves.
Okay,
and she came after that, and things were better. We ended up moving into a different house, which was a little bigger on the base. It was in one of the newer base housing, so that was nice. And we kind of had, I think that was the best time for us as a family overall.
How long did that last?
Maybe 2 years.
So good time, good vibes, getting along, family doing good.
Mm-hmm.
And this is before she got pregnant, or she got pregnant at this time?
She got pregnant at this time. that's when Katrina hit. That was the next wallop. So it was.
But the base was, what base were y'all?
We were in Camp Lejeune up in North Carolina.
Okay, so y'all weren't in New Orleans when Katrina.
No.
Okay, so how did Katrina affect you guys?
We had called her mom. My parents were in Georgia, so they were fine.
Right.
We had called her mom, and we had tried to explain to her mom that, hey, look, this is not just another storm. You
finished. You've
got to do something about this. You're gonna have to address this. And her mom was like, "Well, baby, I've been through a lot of storms before. I'll be all right." Yeah. So I was like, "Oh, okay, Miss Smith, but they've got like this giant." I think our congresswoman or somebody went down to Bourbon Street and she had showed a ruler of how high the water would be. And I was like, have you seen this ruler? I mean, this is really high. This is you're going to be on the roof. And she said, she was going to be all right. Mr. Smith was with her.
Mm-hmm.
And then the storm hit and we didn't know what happened to him.
Right.
So there was a lot of worry and concern that something had happened to him.
Because the phone lines were down, right?
Right. We had no communications whatsoever. And then you had all these people. I was getting upset with there people calling people from New Orleans refugees.
Well, y'all, oh yeah, we went through that too.
And I remember I got in front of the group and I said, "Look, guys," I said, "I understand that you seeing this and you seeing that on the news or whatever, but those are not refugees. Those are Americans down there.
Right.
They're Americans just as much American as you and me. They are not refugees. They are not, some foreign vagabond that's coming in from another country. Those are American citizens. And no one used that term around me anymore."
Great. I know a lot of us was dealing with that.
Mm-hmm.
That people calling us refugees and
mm-hmm.
that whole thing. Did they deploy y'all or try to get?
Funny enough, if I had been on my ship, if I had been on the Whidbey Island,
mm-hmm.
if I had stayed, I would have been deployed to Katrina.
Okay.
The Whidbey Island responded to Hurricane Katrina. It was in port, parked at the French Quarter, with bringing supplies and everything. I saw people that had deployed with me in my city doing relief efforts. That was weird.
Okay. So when did y'all get in contact with the family?
William drove from wherever he was, and I think he was stationed somewhere in the Midwest. So he was working with those stealth bombers.
This is Tasha brother, right?
Yeah. So he never really told us what or where he was doing, or what,
Mm-hmm.
We just always got broad strokes. He went down there and he went to Texas and managed to find Mrs. Smith and Mr. Smith, and they had been helicoptered out off the roof. Mr. Smith had actually saved her life and got her to the roof, and they were helicoptered out of there. And William called me up and was like, "Look, I can't take them in here. I can't do it, but can you take them in up there?" And we did. We took them in, and oh boy. that was oh man, I didn't know what I was gonna get into with that one.
How was it different?
Oh man, it was Mr. Smith, Mrs. Smith, Madonna. I think Michael went with William, but all of them were in the house with me, Tasha, Anthony, and Tasha's pregnant this time.
Okay.
And she's going through that's why I said the second pregnancy was the one that was like, oh God. Oh God. All of this is going on at the same time. I'm losing my shit because Mrs. Smith is packing all this stuff into the house, and it's like, oh God. And I'm getting upset because I still got, all true. I've still got bad feelings about what happened with my mom.
Right.
And now I'm feeling, doubly bad because I'm feeling like I'm a bad son because look at me, I'm doing all of this, and it just was it was a mess. Finally, people on the base, and I will give them to their eternal credit. They came through and helped us through that period, and they managed to get them all a house out in town where they could live. And I was eternally grateful for that. But that was one of the most stressful periods ever. Not long after that, William was born, and they said he was going to be born on September 11th. And I was like, oh God, no, please don't let him be born on September 11th. In fact, I had prayed that he would not be born on that date because I didn't want his birthday to forever be marred with 9/11 terrorist attacks.
Right.
So
he was born what date?
September 12th.
Okay.
My prayers are answered.
Yeah. Okay, so now you have 2 kids.
2.
And what year were you in out of your 3-year land deployment?
This is 2005. I've got another 2 years to go.
Okay, so 2007, you got to go back
home. I'm done 2007. Either that or I got to re-enlist.
Okay, so what's going on between those 2 years?
A lot. Tasha's trying to adjust with living with me. I'm trying to adjust with living with her. She's getting used to the fact that I've got all these micro machines, and she's like, you got these things everywhere. They're everywhere. And, or that I'm throwing shirts different places and just living them around the house. So we were getting on each other's nerves fairly regularly during that time period. And then we've got the baby, and he's, doing what babies do. And you got Anthony. Anthony was having his own little issues, but they were not anything more than what you get with kids his age.
So, but y'all still together?
Yeah.
At what point did it start becoming rocky?
Toward the end, when it was clear that I was going to leave the Navy and I was going to get out. That's when things started to really go downhill. We tried to get some place that was going to be near where she could go for her master's, because she tried to get her to go straight in for the PhD program, but I don't think she got in. Or there was something going on where she was having trouble getting into the PhD program. So we went somewhere where they could get like a master's, so she could get like the master's degree or to work toward that to make that easier. So we ended up in a place called Chesterfield, Virginia. And in Chesterfield, we stayed maybe a year, maybe a year. We were there, and it was just issues. Sex was different. We were relating different. She was having issues. I was having issues, and we weren't really communicating well.
Mm-hmm.
And I fault myself. I probably could have done more, and I didn't. I don't think I did enough.
Why do you say that?
I think I was looking for an easy way out instead of trying to deal with the problems. Because we went to counseling, but the counseling didn't seem to help. And I just didn't know what was going to be the way forward on this.
On your relationship, you didn't know what would be the way forward. What do you mean by that?
I didn't know how best to resolve these issues. And it's one of the points in my life where I really feel like, I really should have dived deeper and looked at it and did more. And I didn't.
So you and her were having problems. What about your circle? You have a circle of friends. What was going on?
I didn't have a circle because I don't think I was in contact with you or Vincent or Lawrence or anybody at that time.
So you was kind of isolated.
Yeah, I didn't have a circle. It was just us.
What year was this?
2006, 2005. I don't think I got in contact with you until maybe after I got out of there.
Well, okay. He was born in 05.
Mm-hmm.
You and her start having the issues. And what year was it?
05 we were having issues.
Okay.
05 we were having issues. 06 the issues got extremely worse.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want to go into that part, or you want?
I cheated.
Okay.
I mean, that's not something I'm proud of. I did do that, and understandably, she couldn't forgive me for that, and I understand why not. I mean,
Yeah.
If I had to do it over again, I would have never done it.
Of course, it definitely wasn't worth it.
It wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth it.
So at this point, she tells you she wants to separate for a while or something, or
we had some hard fights, some hard arguments, and at one point, I think she just said, "I want a divorce," and my response was, just, well, okay, well, fuck it, man, and that was the wrong way to go. That was the wrong way to go.
Why do you think you were looking for out?
I think because I had been with Tasha like from high school all the way through my 20s. And this is the kick part about it. This is what I eternally kick myself in the ass about. I was in the Navy for years. I never cheated on my wife. I remember Muckroy said there was this chick we both knew.
Mm-hmm.
And he told me, he ended up sleeping with her or something, some kind of way. He ended up in some kind of small mini relationship with her. And she admitted to him that she had wanted me. And he was like, did you know? I was like, no, I didn't know. He's like, yeah, because he said, because she always knew you would always tell chicks no, and you would always say, no, you're not doing that. And that turned her on for whatever reason. But yeah, I had never done anything. Like I went through deployment. I'd been overseas. I'd been all these different countries. I never did nothing. I got back stateside, and I'm acting like a fool. I know. The worst mistake in my life. That was where my life took a real down.
What happened after that? So y'all go y'all separate ways. Do you stay in the same town? Because y'all were in Virginia, right?
She at some point left from Virginia to Chattanooga.
Okay.
Because her mom had relocated to Chattanooga. I went to Atlanta because my parents were in Atlanta. And we just both kind of retrenched from there. And I think the rest of the story is everybody knows the rest of the story.
The rest of the story from what do you mean?
From there, we started drafting out divorce papers, and then we went to divorce court, and then we signed papers. Then we had separate custody and that kind of thing, and that's the way it's been since then.
So then now you have to try to raise kids from a distance. How was that?
This is when the bottom really fell out of the tub because we were in the economic crisis. I lost my job.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't find a job. Not a job that was paying anything. I was working, if that, I was working those little 2-bit security jobs, and that was dime for a dozen, dime for a nickel. And so my ability to see them was sporadic. I didn't have a car.
You didn't have a criminal record.
I didn't have a criminal record.
So why didn't you do something? You could have went into law enforcement. You could have went into.
I tried to be
firefighter.
I tried to go for a police department. I went to the police department. The issue with the police department came up with I failed a memory test.
The what test?
Memory test. You got to memorize.
Yeah. Dang. That's. I don't know what department you went with.
I tried with Atlanta PD.
Okay, maybe they have that because I don't know about that in Orleans or.
Well, Orleans, you have to do this. Listen to this tape, and then you have to try to write down what you heard in the tape.
Yeah, but even with that, like it's a sliding scale on those things.
I failed both of them. Ironically, I failed both of them.
Okay, so yeah. I mean, yeah. What about fire department?
I never tried out for the fire department. I never went for that. I never went for the fire department. Eventually, I did find a better paying security job.
Yeah,
and I did that for a number of years, and then I got hooked up because I knew a manager at Target who got me on at Target, and then I was able to pay more with that. But I still had no car and no transport, so my seeing the kids was very, very sporadic.
Okay, and at this point, you're on child support at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And get behind on child support.
Yes.
And you and her relationship, were y'all on speaking terms?
Of sorts. I think from her point of view, all that she ever heard from me was, whenever we were talking, it was an argument. It was just a constant argument. And, as the years go by, it's just like we're arguing over the same things, and it's like at one point, I was like, years later, I was like, hey, look, this is 20 years ago. We're arguing about stuff from 20 years ago. I'm not even the same guy. You're not the same person you were 20 years ago.
Right.
we got to stop. I think our relationship is much better now. I wouldn't say it's great. It's better, certainly better than it was.
Yeah. So let's. All right. So where are you now in terms of um your emotional state, your mental state, financial state, just period. How do you see yourself now? Do you
Best description: I'm North Korea.
okay? What for the viewing audience? What does that mean to you?
Uh, I'm a dysfunctional government. I'm trying to get it together. My finances are a catastrophe. Because frankly, I'm paying off. I've been working to pay off like debt, which is considerable. And I'm just trying to level things out, pay everything out. My goal is to by 45 pay everything and everyone off, and then die in obscurity.
And that's the plan.
That's the plan as of right now. If I come up with a better one between now and then, I'll let you know.
What message would you like to give the viewers that's watching?
Try to be more measured and considered about the decisions that you make. What might seem very good or expedient right now may not be in the long run. Or as my dad would say, it's cheaper to keep her. If you can make it work out, certainly try to make it work out.
And so, what about to your sons? Start with Anthony.
I would say to Anthony, I'm sorry. I can't roll back the tide and turn back and give you all those father and son moments that you want. I can't make things great. I wish I could. I tried to in his older years. I tried to give him some guidance and try to give him some tips that could make him more functional. I think some of it maybe rubbed off, and some of it maybe he just thinks, oh well, the old man, who knows, he doesn't know what he's doing, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I hope that he would learn from my mistakes and try not to fall in the same rabbit holes.
Okay. And for William?
I think me and William, for quite a bit, I didn't know who William was. Like I had no frame of reference, didn't understand him. I think in years coming to pass, I have a better understanding of who he is as a person. I've got to learn more about him as we've hung out more and done more things together. I would hope that he takes these lessons and carries it on to his children. I hope he has children. I hope that he's a better dad than I was. I wish I could have been a better dad to both of them than I was. I was very disappointed in myself. I didn't like the upbringing that I got from my dad, and I tried to do better with them. But sometimes you do fall in the same rabbit holes.
So you think you did fall in the same rabbit hole?
I think I did. I never wanted to be a cheater. I never wanted to be, for lack of a better word, a deadbeat dad or anything. I never wanted to be that. And through misadventure, through not thinking things through, not making better decisions, I ended up falling into those same traps.
Do you think you understand your dad more now?
I don't think I do. Dad is.
I'm only saying that because you're saying that you fell into
I
some-
sympathize with him more now.
Okay,
I do sympathize with him more now. I don't think I understand it more anymore.
but
now.
you sympathize with
I
him
do
more.
sympathize with him more. Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. So that's your. You spoke on regrets. What's the next 10 years look like for you?
I think the second half of my life will most likely be spent trying to fix the first half and trying to make the best of try to correct as best I can the mistakes of the first half. That's what I think Act 2 looks like. I don't know how far I'll get down that road, but I'm going to give my best try.
But that's your goal.
That's my goal.
Okay. All right. And any last words you could think of that you want to put out there? Anything you think we missed?
Just one thing. My relatives tend to have this unerring ability to get on each other's nerves and put themselves in the boxes where they block people off for decades, and then they don't speak to each other for years. I think this is a pattern that I said to. I think I know I've said it to you before. I may have said it to Lawrence, and I think Eric. But we need to break that. I didn't want to be like the last generation where we've got all these walls up, and you see them once every 10 years, and you go, "Oh, you're still alive." Yeah, I'm still alive. All right, good. Take it easy, and then that's it. We really need to end this cycle. We're all family. I think we all hope for our children's future. We all want the best for the next generation. I think we all want the best for each other. I certainly don't wish anybody to have ill will or to not do the best that they can, be the best or live their best life. So I would hope that in times gone that future generations will do a lot better in that, and that the Khalils and the Anthonys and the Williams don't fall in those holes where they're blocking each other off. And that's all I got.
Okay. Well, with that, we will conclude this interview.
All righty.
Let's see. You don't hit dismiss.